Hi, the SI meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Monday, March 18th, a wintry morning here in the Mid-Atlantic region. There's been a burst of snow already in the DC region that put down anywhere from a coating to an inch or so, especially west of town on grassy surfaces. That band of snow is trying to advance to the north and east, but it's running into some very dry air. And we can see here on the latest radar loop from the Penn State EWAL site, in the last couple of frames, you can notice that this band of precipitation kind of falls apart a little bit as it moves northeast. Again, there's some very cold, dry air in the mid-Atlantic region from the Pennsylvania-Maryland border on north and east. So that snow that went through the D.C. area is really having a tough time advancing. There'll be a lot of virga for the next couple of hours in southeastern Pennsylvania. And then perhaps during the midday, early afternoon hours, snow should develop here in southeastern Pennsylvania. It's already winding down for the moment across D.C. And again, they had anywhere from a coating to an inch or so, especially on grassy surfaces and especially on the west side of town. Precipitation will resume later on this afternoon in the D.C. region in the form of sleet and then rain. And the rain showers will continue down there overnight tonight into the early part of tomorrow. We'll have some snow, sleet, and then rain across Philadelphia and New York City, and there can be some small accumulations from the midday through the much of the afternoon hours in the Philly and New York City metro regions. But for right now, the dry air is preventing the snow from advancing this far north and east. That'll change over the next few hours as the atmosphere begins to moisten up. Speaking of dew point, well, this is actually the latest hourly dew point map from the coolweather.com website, and again it shows this color scheme right here is the driest of the air mass right here, and all this region here north and east of this region is in very dry air right now. Dew points down like 10-12 degrees in southeastern Pennsylvania, so that's kind of forcing that snow band to dissipate some as it moves initially to the north and east. It'll take a little while for the atmosphere to moisten up enough. And the problem for snow lovers in southeastern Pennsylvania is as time evolves for the atmosphere to moisten up, the sun comes up, the surface temperatures jump a little bit higher, and it gets a little more difficult for snow to fall during the midday and afternoon hours across southeastern Pennsylvania as compared to, for example, down across D.C. In other words, for this particular setup, the timing has allowed for a little easier chance for a little bit of accumulations across D.C. than it will across Philadelphia. But even in Philadelphia, you can get a small accumulation from the midday to the early afternoon hours as this dry air moistens up over the next couple of hours. Well, what's causing the dry and cold air here in the Mid-Atlantic region? It's a pretty typical cold air damming type of situation. Strong high pressure centered up here to the north. Winds flow clockwise around high pressure areas, and that's bringing in some very cold continental air down the east coast, east of the Appalachian Mountains. And we see the isobar pattern setting up like this with kind of kinks in the pressure pattern here. That's indicative of a cold air damming situation where cold air sets up east of the Appalachian Mountains. And again, this little band of precipitation here that did produce some accumulations across D.C. is kind of dissipating some as it moves to the north and east because of this very cold and dry air. The atmosphere will moisten up over the next couple of hours, and there certainly will be more precipitation moving in. And some snow and then sleet and rain can be expected across Philly and New York City later on today, and precipitation now pulling out of the D.C. area will resume again later on today, but the snow threat is pretty much over with across D.C. It should be in the form of sleet and rain later on today, and all rain for tonight across D.C., and ultimately become an all rain in Philly and New York in the overnight hours as well. Well, let's take a look at several frames of the GFS model run from last night. This is 0Z model run from last night's GFS. This is the forecast map for the middle part of the morning, just a couple hours from now. Again, strong high pressure up to the north, pulls in some cold, dry continental air along the east coast, east of the Appalachian Mountains. This model has precipitation finally advancing into the southeastern part of Pennsylvania by the mid to latter part of the morning. I think it's a little bit quick here. I think it'll be more like the latter part of the morning into the early afternoon before it reaches southeastern Pennsylvania. Let's now jump ahead a few hours. And this is by about 2 o'clock this afternoon. Precipitation now kind of on the doorstep of the New York City region here. Notice the rain snow line, at least at 850 millibars, is still hanging down to the south. Because of this strong high pressure system, this air mass will be stubborn to retreat. The cold and dry conditions will be certainly stubborn to retreat, so there certainly can be frozen precipitation throughout much of the afternoon hours north of the Mason-Dixon line across southeastern Pennsylvania, much of New Jersey, into the New York City region. It'll take quite a while for it to warm up enough for just plain rain here in much of the mid-Atlantic region, thanks to that strong, cold, high-pressure system. Here's the forecast map for late afternoon. Notice precipitation kind of filling back in again. So there is a lull in the action right now across the D.C. region. It definitely resumes again later on today. That rain snow line still here, just hanging pretty far south here, just across southeastern Pennsylvania. Again, the threat for some frozen precipitation continues throughout the afternoon hours, certainly in southeastern Pennsylvania. There can be even a burst of pretty decent snow towards evening rush hour across the New York City region. Here's a forecast map for 0Z tonight, 8 p.m. tonight, and that rain snow line is advancing to the north, but rather slowly. Still frozen precipitation quite likely across the New York City region early to middle part of the evening hours. It'll change to plain rain late tonight across the New York City region. Notice quite a bit of precipitation being dumped out here by the GFS model all the way down to D.C. That'll be in the form of rain showers, and mixed precipitation changes over to plain rain early tonight across the southeastern part of Pennsylvania. Meanwhile, significant snow is headed towards New England once again. There'll be many places there getting a foot or more of snow over the next 24 to 48 hours. Well, finally, let's jump ahead to tomorrow morning. By this time, that rain snow line is all the way up into New England. It looks like, for the most part, it'll be just rain showers in D.C. and Philadelphia, all the way up into New York City by this time, late tonight, early tomorrow morning. It'll actually jump in temperatures for a brief time tomorrow, just ahead of the strong cold front that'll whip on through the Mid-Atlantic region by later tomorrow. Temperatures could reach 50 degrees across D.C. and even into southeastern Pennsylvania. Just a temporary warm-up as that front sweeps on through, sets the stage for much colder air to move in for the middle and latter parts of the week. Will remain below normal on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and there can be some snow shower activity to talk about late Wednesday night as that colder air moves in with a reinforcing frontal system. So a wintry pattern continues for D.C., Philly, and New York City, not only for this week, but it looks like for the rest of the month of March. Stay tuned to the SIweather.com. I'm the SI meteorologist, Paul Dorian.